keep showing up for life. And even though you might feel afraid of things or there's fear there, just figure out a way to walk through it.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Paul Tully with the FYI podcast. I'm here with an incredible guest, a very special guest today, and I'm going to tell you why he's special. First of all, this is Mr. Michael Rothman, executive producer. He's had an incredible career. We're going to talk a lot about it and his story, but he is also the father of one of our producers, Jack Rothman. So this is an honor to have you in the house today, Michael.
Yes. Let's just talk about what an incredible producer I am.
Let's do that.
No, I'm good at it. Good to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me out.
Of course.
Always stoked to just see my son and just be around him. Super proud of him.
Yeah.
Such a cool
Great guy, man. This guy's ambitious and super cool with everybody.
Living his best life.
Yeah.
Always surrounded by, I was going to say hot chicks, but attractive women.
Nice. Well, that's good for him.
That's such a good kid, man. Anyway, moving on.
He keeps me in check too, because he's a very, loves everybody and keeps it zen. So when I get a little crazy and, or if we talk politics, he keeps us nice and even keel.
Yeah, I love him so much. I'm so proud of him. Anyway.
Cool. Yeah, man, let's talk about you, man. Where are you from originally? Let's just kind of tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
How much time am I penciled in for?
As much as you want. We try to keep it at 45 minutes, but
love that.
This is your time.
Okay.
It could be also if you're like, I'm done.
No, starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was born in Canada, which I swear to God, it's harder for me to admit that I'm from Canada than all the douchebag things I've ever done. But that's where I was born. And then my dad was born in Canada. My mom, who's so awesome, grew up in England, but during World War II, she took a boat over with her mom to Canada. That's how they met. And then my dad was all about working in the entertainment business. That's what he loved. He started out, one of his first bosses was Norman Jewison, who's this really well-known director. He started out as a stage manager, but he wanted to, his dad, my great-grandfather, who was a phenomenal guy, owned real estate, had a dress mill. His dad wanted my dad to get involved in the business, but my dad's like, not happening. Yeah. And when I was about 3 or 4, moved us down to Beverly Hills.
Nice.
Which I've always hated. Been anti-Beverly Hills. He loved it. He was a Beverly Hills guy.
He was loving it.
Till the day he died. So moved down here, and then lived in Beverly Hills till I was about 9 or 10, and then my parents got divorced. And my mom, who really was this phenomenal woman, like she went on to have this career, she was a renowned author. She had a presidential appointment to the bioethics committee like crazy. And what's interesting about that, tell me if I'm talking too much, she's this super petite woman with hardcore English accent. She was a hardcore intellectual, and if you met her, you would be like, there's no way that's your mom. Anyway, so she took us to England for a couple years, which was epic, way out in the country. It was cool, man. And then they tried to get back together, so we moved back out to Malibu, like Zuma Beach, and that's really where the trouble started.
Yeah, so, that's when it got a little crazy, huh?
Yeah.
So were those like your teen years, high school, stuff like that?
Yeah, I was like 12 years old and 11 or 12. And the trippy thing was, it's not trippy, but like while I was in England, it was like the full glitter rock scene, right? Like Gary Glitter, Slade, T Rex. And as kids, we would all go to dances, with like platform shoes and velvet bell bottoms. Anyway, first day of school back in Malibu, everybody's dressed in like surf shirts and sandals and OP shorts. And, I show up dressed like Elton John. So that first year, and I got in a bunch of fights, and I just wanted to be cool and fit in. So I started surfing and partying and all that stuff, and that started this sort of interesting journey. Anyway, back to you.
No, no, no. I want to get into that journey. So when did you start getting into like the industry? Or I guess you're around it. You're in Malibu. I mean, from Beverly Hills to Malibu. So
Yeah, I think I was definitely around it, but I was oblivious to it. All I cared about was partying, surfing.
yeah,
I got kicked out of the house at 16, kicked out of school. And I was very anti-Hollywood. I know what my dad did. True. And then at 18, I moved to Hawaii for a bunch of years and sort of tried to get my. Am I allowed to swear or no?
we try not to.
Okay,
If you do,
back
we
to
could
what-
bleep it.
Yeah, you can edit this. So moved to Hawaii and to try and get it together, and came back to LA and I had no interest in the entertainment
Yeah.
industry. I wanted to own a surf shop or be a lifeguard. But I had to get a job. I was like 24 and I couldn't even get hired as a busboy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my dad got me a job as a production assistant doing rock videos.
Nice.
So
Hey, that's pretty cool.
it was cool. It was interesting, and
More trouble came with that. though.
more trouble came with that.
Yeah.
The director was this. I worked for them for like a year, and massive. He was a really well-known director. Did all these big rock videos and concerts, and he would come on the set, and make this announcement because he knew my dad. He'd be like, "Hey, everybody, keep the drugs away from Mike." He just
Right.
spent time in rehab.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm this kid, and then he'd walk out of the restroom with like all over his mustache.
You're trying not to go help him
Yeah,
clean it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
You need help.
So that was a crazy year for
That's
sure.
why. So
Yeah.
it was that open. I mean, in those
back
days,
then,
it was
yeah.
just that open. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like impossible not to
Yeah.
be part of that. So with the rehab and stuff. So how was that? Was that an up and down? I mean, I've been sober for a while
you
now too. So
identified. Got it,
yeah,
got
of
it.
course, I had my day.
I think, I went to Hawaii because I was 18 and it had gotten pretty dark.
Yeah.
Because, the last couple years in Malibu, because I'd gotten kicked out of the house, I moved in with all these older local guys, right? And they were all surfers, but they had jobs. And the house was killer. It was right on the bluffs overlooking Zuma Beach. I was 16. It was, it was epic.
Yeah.
At, surfing, girls, partying, all that stuff. But I was definitely sort of starting to deteriorate. And at 18, I ended up moving to Hawaii. I ended up in a rehab there. It was pretty long rehab. I mean, back then, it was pretty Wild West, So I was in the rehab for a while, and it definitely saved me. And I'm in there with guys like stipulated from Oahu prison, like the armed robbers, and
Right.
I love the Hawaiians though. They have, I'm still tied into a lot of the guys. They're such a great culture and beautiful people, and
Agree.
They're awesome. Anyway, I that got me clean. You know what I mean? And then I stayed living over there for like another 3 years, and that was pretty epic. The Hawaii time was
Sober or?
sober.
Oh,
the
wow.
last
Okay.
3 years.
Yeah.
So it kept me clean.
Yeah. Were you surfing and stuff
All
over there?
that, dude. It was epic.
So you were just in tune with like
It was
with
epic,
everything,
yeah.
with the culture,
Yeah.
and just spiritually getting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then I wasn't this Johnny Gyro California kid, so I got taken in by a lot of the locals. You know
Nice.
what I mean? And yeah, it was cool. It was great. And then came back, still under the sort of, still susceptible at that age to the parental pressure. Like, dude, come on, you gotta.
Yeah, I was gonna
Get a
say,
life.
was your dad at that? Now it's like
Yeah.
you got to get on track.
Yeah.
And how was your relationship with your dad at that point, coming back from Hawaii sober? And was he proud of that, or?
Yeah, I think, listen, my dad loved me very much.
Yeah.
Like, no question. And he was a good dude. And he did the best he could with the tools he had, period. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so he was pretty stoked, and my mom was pretty stoked, and yeah.
Nice.
So
That's
it was
cool.
good. Yeah.
And then, so when you got back, is you started working again, and what did you start doing at that point? Now
Well,
you're
when
young
I-
20s, right?
Yeah, when I was like 23, 24, I started working in rock videos, right? As like a PA. I didn't know what I was doing. But I started doing that, and then I spent a year on staff with this guy's company. It was pretty wild. I got to travel with those guys. And then started freelancing, started freelancing like for the art department. I did some films, I did a bunch of commercials, and then kind of fell into doing TV, and did that for a lot of years. Fell into doing specials and award shows. But truthfully, my career didn't really start blowing up till I was about 41, because I had sort of regressed and started partying and drugs and all that stuff. And then at 41, and I had 3 kids, and I was broke and I was homeless, and I ended up going to Tucson. I just think about Jack telling me it's okay to cry. Where are you, by the way?
We're gonna bring him out in a little while.
Okay, cool. And then I'm not going to mention the name of these treats, but they're really good.
Future sponsors, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. We gotta reel them in.
Yeah, these things are delish. We can get a close up of the orange. So
Tucson, that looked like it touched a nerve. You said Tucson.
yeah, I went to Tucson because I was just sort of out of options. You know what I mean? Like, and I thought LA was the problem. My career was the problem. My relationships were the problem. Everything. I had burned down any relationship I'd ever been in. People stopped hiring me for work. You know what I mean? Because I was kind of a douchebag, super
Rocking
selfish,
and rolling, yeah.
self-centered, all those things, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But so my sister lived in Tucson. She offered me a job, which I was not equipped to do. She had a lot of success, so she helped me out. And she was clean and sober.
Okay.
So I started following her deal
Nice.
and started going to this
12-stepping.
Thank you. 12-step program. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it saved my life, and it changed everything.
Really?
And then,
Nice.
and it's crazy what has happened over the last 22 years. It really is. It's insane. Anyway, so should I keep rolling? Are you guys interested in the booth? Just interesting story.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Super. It's
Feedback
great.
from the booth.
I think it'd be kind of cool to touch on at this point being a father, fatherhood, and having 3 kids, and how that made a big impact in you, becoming a better person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really want me to cry? You're
So in getting sober, I'm a 12-stepper myself, man. So in getting sober, and I had a young kid also when I first went into the program. I was like my life was also out of control, and I went into rehab. And I don't know if you could relate, but what I want to know is after getting sober or in that time, how'd that change you as a parent or your relationship with your children?
wow. That's actually for all of us who have kids, when we change our lives, if you're any kind of a decent human being, your instinct to protect your cubs is almost as strong as your instinct to breathe. You know what I mean? And when I was out there partying and being self-destructive, I'd lost sight of all that. And I was not a good dad, none of those things. And I have 3 boys. My oldest is 35, the middle is 32, and then my youngest, Jack, is 25. And I think to a large degree, my oldest boys got the brunt of it. And then I remember it was Jack's. Jack was 3 when I got when I cleaned up, but I was still, it took 5 years. I was still this sort of selfish, self-centered guy. And it's a slow process.
They call it dry drunk. Like
Yeah.
We still have our old habits, and
Yeah, and it just took time, but I was pretty consistently following this 12-step thing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that would save me. So, but I remember I was in Tucson, and it was Jack's 3rd birthday. And so I drove home for his birthday party, and I was clean at the time. But I got into LA, and I just called my friend and went by her house and got some drugs, because I just couldn't deal. That was a problem. I had no tools to deal with life. I had so much fear. That's why I constantly consumed drugs. I swear to God, the last few years of work, I would 5, 6 years, I'd go to work with this big Ziploc baggie full of like all kinds of drugs. It looked like a big Skittles bag.
Wow.
Swear to God, because I couldn't cope.
Yeah.
Anyway, segueing back, once I finally really committed to cleaning up my life, all this, they say, when you get clean, don't worry about getting in touch with your feelings. Your feelings will get in touch with you. So I'm not, I'm not using any drugs, drinking, and I came in at 41 with just a massive amount of remorse and guilt about the type of father I was, the type of man I was, all those things. And it just became, critical for me to be a good dad again. Like, that's honestly, my kids are my greatest gift in my life. Hands down. They're all crushing. They're all like better versions of me, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And all doing so well, and all super smart and funny. Like, they humiliate me all the time, but I love them so much. So it became important to like really be there for my kids, no matter what. It was like a living amends.
Yeah.
Trying to make it right, So always, to this day, whatever they need, I'm just there. and that's it. And I don't fix their problems like you can talk to Jack. I used to put him in positions where he had to figure stuff out on his own. I remember we were doing, I forgot what roast, but Jack had to go interview or go deal with, like, the big name talent, Will Ferrell, like all these people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and he can explain it better than I, but I knew he could deal with it.
Yeah.
He's a PA. He'd never
Yeah.
done it before, but I'm like, just go do it. And
You figure it out.
he crushed it, Yeah.
Nice.
So that's, my kids for sure, my greatest gift. They're awesome. Like how, it's funny, my dad it was a different generation, and my dad was always like, kids, there was 5 of us, they're such a pain in the he would always go on and on about that. I feel super lucky to be their dad.
Yeah.
So lucky and grateful to be their dad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it's been a cool ride.
You could tell that you're really proud of them, and
They're awesome kids, like people ask me about my kids. I'm like, I'm telling you, they are cool as
yeah.
And of course, people think, oh, you're their dad. You're going to say that. But once you meet them, you're like, get it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. Despite myself, I have these kids who are rock stars. And yes, a lot of it has to do with their moms.
The mom gets some credit.
Wait, Sheila, are you in the booth? I know you are. How's my chest hair?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good.
Well, since you opened up that for a second, if you want, how's your relationship been with your ex-wife, with their moms? And I don't even know much. Like, have you guys been separated for a long time, or were the kids growing up were you separated? I know I come from a divorced parent, so very common in my generation. I don't think I knew anyone whose parents were divorced when I was growing up.
Yeah. I see. Clearly, you didn't get my writer, right? Like, obviously, there's no Reese's peanut butter cups or
The M&M's only green ones.
There's no makeup here.
Yeah, what's going on
There's
there?
definitely no talking about my exes. Same thing. I had to fix that and make it right.
Yeah.
And that took time. Like, I have a great relationship with Jack's mom. She's partners with me on some of my projects. And
cool.
I have, I have a relationship with Chris and Trev's mom, because that was that was so bad. I swear there was a period of time I thought she hired someone to kill me. Swear to God. But yeah, all those are pretty healthy relationships. Both of them are always invited to Christmas and Thanksgivings, and which really is, that's pretty miraculous.
Do you ever get lucky enough to have them both at one table?
I'm pretty sure both of them have. There she is. Shields. I see the white sweater. Both of them, I think, have been at Christmases together. They don't always make it, but they're always invited in. But yeah, that's pretty.
No, that says a lot. That says a lot that your family, your guys are able to, no matter how much drama or things, traumatic experience you have, be able to come together as a family. I mean, that says a lot about you.
Yeah.
It says a lot about them.
Yeah.
And that's great. It's good for the kids.
Yeah.
Well, dude, they're not kids anymore. I guess they're all grown men.
They're Chargers. But honestly, I don't deserve the credit for that. I didn't do this. This 12-step thing is the one that, it's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the other thing is, after like years and years of failed relationships, I, have this, this woman who I've been involved with for 14 years who's cool as cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And cool to all my kids and all that stuff. So. Yeah.
So now where you at today in life? You're working on multiple projects, sober. How do things feel when you look back at how it was in the 20s and 30s?
Yeah.
Just as a whole, I mean, just fatherhood,
Yeah.
manhood,
Yeah.
professional.
Yeah.
Like, how's life feeling?
I would say, that time period until I was 41 was pretty tumultuous. And the other thing is, I really didn't have any tools for dealing with life,
Yeah.
and towards the end, it got super dark. Like, I remember I did this project in Toronto. It's like one of the last projects I did, and I was getting loaded during the day, go party with the boys afterwards, and I'd go back to the hotel. I couldn't sleep, and I just remember wandering the streets of Toronto, like, just because my life was so effed up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then, the last 22 years, I've been on this ride, this journey that has been insane, especially where I come from and now, and just working on, I have multiple projects. Like, it's insane what's happened, like where I am and the people, the level of people that I deal with today, and the amount of projects I have going on, and yeah, it's just remarkable. But again, it's not me. I
Yeah.
didn't do this,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel the same way. Every
yeah,
time I have a blessing or something happens, I sometimes I ask myself, I'm like, this is impossible. It's like I didn't make this. Like, people will say, hey, you did a great job with that. Or,
yeah,
I go, man, believe me. Even when I write, if I write a script or a play or something, I
yeah,
go, I don't even know how I did that.
yeah,
I
exactly.
can't even take credit. You're
Yeah,
right. I look back at, I couldn't even function
yeah,
when I was using. I mean, we functioned, we hustled, we made, but it was like
yeah,
miserable.
yeah,
I guess what I wanted to ask is, so obviously that trip to Tucson and stay and being with your sister,
yeah.
that was a major turning point in your life.
Yeah, that
And
saved my life.
yeah, that
It saved my life. I mean, I could do an hour on that, but I'm not going to.
right.
But it's not just for me. It gave my kids their dad back.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in a position now where I can help others. Like, it's not just about me.
Yeah, I love that.
I remember, like, I'd always try and help others. Like, I don't know, it's become sort of instinctive, and that includes with street people who don't, who are suffering. So I remember, and Jack in the car, we'd always go by and give people who were homeless money, you know what I mean? Because they need it more than I do. And then I remember one time we pulled up to 7-Eleven in Santa Monica, and there was this homeless guy sitting outside, and Jack was probably 5 or 6, and he's like, Dad, can I give this guy $1? And that stemmed from, again, not me, but this program gave me all that, and then I saw it sort of. I take no credit for how rock star my kids are, but I just saw some of that influence, which was
Love that.
cool as F. I really want to swear, but I'm
I,
not going to.
let me ask you,
Yeah.
are there any big mantras that you live by?
Yeah, I know there are. I just can't think of some. Jack may be able to tell you. I mean, yeah, there's certain mantras like, no matter how I feel, I got to show up. Like, I was sick this morning, I don't feel great. But I'm like, nope, get in the car, charge. No matter how I feel, just show up. No matter how dark it gets, no matter how bad it gets, you know, or how far down the rabbit hole I go, as long as I keep doing this whole 12-step thing, I'm going to be taken care of. I'm
Yeah.
going to be okay. I
Yeah.
always am. I have been for the last 22 years, no matter what.
Let go and let God, right?
Yeah. I'm sure there are others would show up, just show up and participate in life. And that's changed everything for me. And the other thing is, you know, walking through fear, like, because it's funny, I saw Josh Brolin gave this great interview, and he's
He's
doing his thing, and
friend of Bill, yeah.
he talked about this crippling, debilitating fear he used to feel on how he presented himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think a lot of people don't ever confront that, because even if it doesn't matter if you have a drinking drug problem or you don't, we all have these crazy fears. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to look bad. We don't want to fail, like gnarly fears. And this program helped me walk through all of them, like gnarly stuff, debilitating stuff. And I keep doing that, and I think that's a part of that changed my life for sure. It's part of the reasons I think I've had a lot of success, just walking through all that fear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people don't do that, and they want to stay safe, and
Right.
you know what I mean? But that has changed my life. The other thing about walking through all that fear is, you learn how, especially in career, you learn how capable you are. I never would have known how capable I was
Yeah.
without walking through all that fear. For
Yeah,
sure.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's great, Mike. That's great. That's great advice, man. I appreciate. Why don't we bring in Jack? Take a moment to bring Jack
Yeah,
in.
dude,
I'd love
that'd
to
be
see you
epic.
guys next to each other. Jack. All right, we're here. We got Jack Rothman, the son of the incredible Mike Rothman. Look at this.
So psyched.
Yeah.
The father and
me-
son duel.
Can I ask the questions?
I would love that.
When,
Yes.
I didn't sign up for that.
Yes.
When's the last time you had any kind of a hallucinogenic?
Dude, my job is on the line.
Sorry.
I don't participate
Okay.
in any
I know you
hallucinogenics.
don't. That was a fake question.
No, yeah.
Who's the hottest chick you've
Okay,
ever
dude.
been with?
Okay, dude. My girlfriend,
Right now.
as of now, obviously.
Right, you have to say
good
that
answer.
because we're live.
Yeah.
To tape.
To
You
take.
can, but also don't. Do you have any kind of power here where you could say no? We're taking that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you're.
But it's a team effort. There's a lot of
I
people behind
know.
the scene.
So okay, cool.
But I kind of want to touch on something.
Go.
Because as I was.
Well, wait, before we do that, who's the second hottest girl? Maybe that, then you don't have to offend your current girl.
Well, okay, this one's fair. This one's fair.
hottest.
Back in the day when I would go to his tapings and his shows, he used to work on the show called CNN Heroes. And my celebrity crush to this day still is Jessica Alba. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Jessica Alba. Yeah, she's gorgeous.
She's a beautiful woman.
What is this turned into? What is happening?
I
I
think
know, I'm sorry, that's my bad. Okay,
No, you're good.
we're back on track.
Let's slate this because
yeah, take those pictures off. I can't focus. Let's get into the question you had, Jack. Before you said you wanted to tell a story.
well, yeah. So as we were, we're sitting in the studio and I'm listening to you recount your journey.
Yeah.
And the question about your mantra, which if like someone were to ask me if I've learned anything from my father, it would be to show up no matter what. And I definitely will carry that till the day I die because I think it's an important value. But I remember growing up, and I mean, as a precursor, I'll say this, like, by all means, living with divorced parents across the board is like, it's never really easy. In my case, however, I think it was probably the best thing that happened to me just because of the relationship that, I had with each of my parents, and they made it work. Yeah. But for the time when I was, in my early teens and going into my teenager years, I would split time as a divorced kid would do with their parents. Well, you guys were never even married. You guys were just, you guys met on set one day and
We
decided.
were soulmates.
Soulmates, sure, whatever. I know, I've seen all the love letters that you've written to her.
Soulmates.
But anyway, I think this was a pretty important time in my life when I was developing, and I give all the credit to you during this time because I know it wasn't easy for you. I know it was hard, and you talked about how you were homeless for a while, and you would still manage to take care of me and take me on those weekends when it was your time. And we would spend weekends at the Ramada Hotel. When he didn't have me, he would go to the motel, get the cheapest room. But when I would take the weekend with him, it'd be the suite in the Ramada. And, you know, that's not easy for a kid growing up, like the displacement. But every single time, I swear, you made it feel like an adventure. Yeah. Like it was this fairy tale, and it was all new and exciting. And I remember specifically this one time, like as I'm looking back in retrospect, it got to a point where you couldn't even afford to get a hotel. So we had to spend like a couple weekends at your friend's house in a 1-bedroom that the friend had, and then me and you would share a couch. Yeah. And like when you think about that, it's like, wow, it's like kind of awful. It's kind of awful with your kid, but like I swear at the time I was oblivious to all that because of how you the perception of my reality, you made it into an adventure. So it was super special, and I think, you know, you getting sober definitely made that easy. I mean, it was not easy, but you made that possible for me. So so I thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I think about that all the time.
I think, God, I had a couple thoughts when you brought that up, but we would, here's the thing, for me at least, this is my experience, and admittedly, I don't know, but we can edit that out. Admittedly, back to one, I don't have any answers, but I do, in retrospect, looking at all those experiences, I really valued being a single dad because then you do everything. You know what I mean? Like, you're involved with everything, and it just brings you much closer to your kids. And it was always adventures on the beach. Every weekend we go search for basketball courts, football down at the beach. You know, it was, you know, shells. We'd go on the beach looking for shells. It was always an adventure. We're going on an adventure. You know?
Yeah, no, that's how I remember it for sure.
And I was not a cook. I'm not a cook. So there was for sure, I have a bunch of pictures of Jack with Chef Boyardee at the table. And
the banquet frozen dinners.
Oh, yeah, the banquet.
I still get crap from that from my friends because what I would do.
Oh, the banquet.
The banquet frozen, so gas, so good. But I was a chubby kid, right? And I was a little delusional thanks to you. Yeah. So when I was like 12 or 11, I had my own Facebook account, and I begged you guys to allow me because all my friends had it. I would take selfies with my Ben & Jerry's, the ramen cup of noodles, and like the banquet frozen. I'd smile in the camera with my banquet frozen dinners and post them on Facebook. And I'm this fat, chubby kid, and they're still there if you want to look at them. And I get so much crap from my friends, but I think it's so funny. Yeah.
But I remember when you started cooking. Remember when you started cooking eggs? You were so
I was showing
young.
you up for sure, yeah.
You were he'd come over, he'd cook his own eggs, and you were particular about how much pepper you put into it. Like, I totally remember that. Yeah. But it was cool. It was super cool. You were like 10 cooking your own eggs.
I got to give I got to give a shout out to my nanny that my mom was able to. Karina. She taught me how to cook, yeah.
She was so bomb.
Yeah.
She was cool, yeah.
This is super cool, man. Watching you guys, it's actually it's a really awesome moment to watch you guys talk, and I could see as you reminisce the love. You know, I also came from divorced parents. One thing I wanted to touch on, and you guys just reiterated and just confirmed for me, is I've always thought to myself, I didn't regret, like when my parents are separated, people are like, oh, it's so traumatic. Honestly, I lived in New York with my dad. I would come spend the summers out here with my mom, because she's from LA, her side of the family. And then I go back to New York. It was like, and I told my mom this before she passed away this year. And I said, you know, because we were having a conversation, she was talking about like, you know, like I always felt bad, you know, because I lived with her till I was like 10 or 11. Then I went with my dad. So I always felt bad that happened. You know, my sister stayed with her, and I said, "No, you shouldn't. Don't feel bad." I said, "Listen, I thought it was great growing up in this city and learning this culture and this world, then coming and living here, and it was to me, it's what you guys said, an adventure." I felt like when I would come see my mom for the summer, I felt like I had all her attention. Mm-hmm. And then when I'd be with my dad, because there's times I'd live with my mom, they had troubles and ups and downs. Mm-hmm. So then when I'd be with my dad, I got all his attention. So I don't know. A lot of my friends who had both parents in the house used to say, "Man, I don't even see any of my parents," you know? And I'm like, I just spent like a whole week with my dad in Martha's Vineyard because he would work all year to save up, Ed, like you just said about your dad. And same with my mom. She would come to New York, spend like a week with me, and just take me shopping, and because she didn't see me for 3, 4, 5 months, then she'd see me and just spoil me. So I don't know. You just gave me. I went down memory lane myself.
Because I mean, there's definitely like a stigma to it, but on the contrary, people, with parents that are still together, like, and they're trying to make it work, but it's still not working. You can't go to bed because you hear your parents arguing all night. Yeah. Like, that's pretty traumatic. And, it was cool that you guys made the decision. We're like, you know what? Like, I love you. I love our kid, but me and you were not meant to be together. Let's still make it work. That was the best thing that you could have done for a kid.
And like my parents and your parents in this case, and me and my son's mom. It didn't work. We split up when he was 1, but we've always parented together, and I coach his little league, and she took care of the school aspect. He lived with her, and you make it work. And I mean, that's okay too. So I think that's really what we're saying is if you happen to find it toxic and it doesn't work, it's better to put your energy in
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's not always easy to do. And again, the fear thing, people are afraid of splitting up and, all those things. But I think as a kid, even like when my mom took us to England at like whatever, 9 or 10, it just was. I wasn't like, oh, they're splitting up. I was just a kid, or then moved back out. They tried to get together, but they couldn't. It just was. Yeah. It didn't, affect me. It probably did in some ways, but.
I mean, look at us three. I'm sure we're affected.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't you want to be like us?
But what I'm saying is when you're a kid like that, it just is.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I think, but the parents suffer more. Like, what have I done to my kids? Whereas, like you're saying, it was just kind of an adventure.
Yep.
You didn't, you're sleeping on the couch with me at McKeever's. Yeah. It just was.
I mean, it's all circumstantial because, like, sometimes you'll have, the case will be where the kid feels like it was their fault that the parents split up, right? Yeah. Like that there was, at a certain crossroad, they were to blame for the breaking up, right? Yeah. Because, and I think that's horrible to think because that's an affair between your parents. It has nothing to do with the child. But that's another thing that a lot of kids experience.
Right. I never felt that. Did you?
No, never, ever. Like, and also, I say circumstantial because of the age of when it happened. Like I had no idea. Like,
you were young.
I was young too. I was 6, so I didn't fully comprehend. Plus, they were so toxic. I think even I understood. You know what I mean?
No, that's what I got that vibe too.
That's a good move, Mom and Dad.
You're just like, this is Mom's a lot funner when he ain't around, and then he's a lot funner, and you're like, and that's okay. That's what I'm saying. It's okay. Like, But it's great to see you guys talk about that, and I've got to talk to my parents about that because you're right. They both felt the same way. Like, hey, did we affect you? Did we? And I'm like, not at all, man. Yeah, listen, it would have been all jokes aside. Of course, it'd be great to have the house where Mom and Dad were in that. I guess. I mean, I don't know because I didn't have it. Yeah. So but I'm assuming it'd be great. But what I told my mom and dad is it was great not having it too, guys. Yeah. I love you both. They did a great job. They loved me. Even with up and downs, they always put me first. And I never felt I wasn't loved.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're saying to your dad is like, whether you were sharing a couch, you know, you didn't feel like he didn't love you. He was doing the best he could. And that's more powerful than having a room, but he ain't talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, you could have your own bedroom and he don't even come home. I mean, that's how a lot of families in reality are. It's like, yeah, I provide for my family. I know men like that. Provide for my family. They're never around.
Yeah.
You know, and you're provide for your family. But then there's guys that they ain't got a nickel to put in their pocket, but they're at the games, at the Little League games, they're cheering. They show up.
Yeah.
I think too that I don't know what I think, but there was times for sure when I had to go to work and I had to get people to hang out with Jack. Do you remember any of those?
He would pay some of his friends to hang out with me, which was cool because you were making the bread, you were getting it done.
Yeah, who do you remember?
May Lynn.
May Lynn used to watch you?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, but all said and done.
Yeah.
I love you
love
so
you too.
much. So proud of you.
You did a great job. Still
This is cool. This is the first father and son interview we've had. Mike, I want to thank you for coming on. But listen, you don't get off that easy.
I smell an Emmy.
Shine it up, baby. Before we exit, we ask every guest at the end of the interview to look in your camera there that's on you.
Yeah.
And just give somebody who's watching that's relating to you at no matter what age, what gender they're watching, their stories resonating. What advice would you give them?
Wow. I don't. The problem is, I don't know a lot. I just, more than anything, I just keep showing up for life. And even though you might feel afraid of things or there's fear there, just figure out a way to walk through it. And I've been super lucky, but I can't do this alone. I've had to surround myself with good people that can help me walk through life, and that relationships, for me, with other men, hetero, have been critical. So that's what I got.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying I'm hetero.
Not that there's anything
I'm
wrong.
No, I'm saying these are, I'm going to bury myself.
Mike, you are a gem, man. I'm really enjoying. Look at, I'm red in the face. This was fun, man.
Thanks, man.
Before we jump out of here, Jack, your dad said how proud he is of you many times and of his other sons. Sitting here with him, looking at him, sharing a couch again, and a podcast.
Wow.
Full circle. I mean, how does it feel, man? Looking at this man, what comes to mind?
Yeah. It's amazing. Like I mean, from the bottom of my heart, like I can't thank you and mom enough for just giving me the opportunities that I've been given to be able to do what I am able to do today. And like you guys did the best you could, and it was the best. Like I wouldn't ask for anything else. So thank you for being proud of me. I love you so much, and I'm glad I've been able to spend 25 years with you, and looking forward to more.
Wait, we should do 2 minutes with Sheila.
No.
Yes.
We'll save that for another time. Dude, it's never going to end. We're at zero. The timer's at zero.
You sure?
We are at zero.
Mom will be she'll come later. And then you'll surprise her in like a Santa suit or something.
Yeah.
This would be cool, right? A whole family reunion right now. Then it turns crazy. We could flip it and you guys start fighting, throwing stuff at each other.
I'll be chill. She'll be gnarly.
That's what makes her successful. That's the truth.
All right, I'm going to close
She'll
this out
ride
here.
me like Zorro.
What, dude? What? Okay.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This was fun. This was heartwarming, man. Sitting here with Mike, learning about his story. It's an incredible story, a story of ups and downs and triumphs. But the most triumphant moment I took out of today was watching him and his son, Jack, one of our producers, come in here and sit and bond and just talk from the heart. I thought what Jack was telling him, as a father myself, I'm sure Mike could agree, that's a moment that we all look forward to, is to hear from our kid. Those kinds of words of encouragement. It's hard being a parent. It's hard being a human being. So for everybody out there, keep showing up like Mike says. Times get tough. Times are rough. No matter what you're going through, man, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep showing up. See you on the next episode. FYI.
You should never stress about the problems you be facing. Everybody in the mud on the struggle trying to make it. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration. I'm finding inspiration, and once I get a hold of it, I'll never get complacent. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration.